Hello and welcome to the Just Interesting podcast, the podcast that's probably more interesting than it has any right to be. And with me, as always, are two very special gentlemen, one Scottish and one Scottish but living in England, maybe?
But which
Robin,
one's which?
Good question. Alex, Scottish by... not by birthright, but
just by location.
But where you are, yeah. You're in Edinburgh. How are you?
Which is what counts.
I'm good, thank you, yeah. I feel like the last few weeks all I've said is that I've just spent a little bit of time exploring Edinburgh, but that's all I've done this week as well, because we're still in lockdown, although things are starting to open up again soon.
They are.
Soon, pubs,
I
think hairdressers
April
are now
12th,
open.
Isn't it?
Yeah, hairdressers and homeware stores are now open, so we're getting there.
Whoa, the possibilities.
Oh, hairdressers are open. Oh.
Get your law, what's it? Hairdressers and homeware stores.
I think so. I think
What's homeware? What's that?
Don't confuse your shears
Is it like
with
being
your scissors.
IKEA, a bit of IKEA? I think IKEA is
DIY stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Robin, sorry, Alex.
No, that was not important. I'm not going to derail this any further by talking about homeware stores. Go to Robin.
Okay. Robin, Scottish by a little bit of blood, I imagine.
A bit of lineage, yeah.
A little bit of lineage there. Any
Diluted
IKEA
Scots,
trips?
yeah, that's what I am.
Any IKEA trips on the horizon for you, Robin?
No, just in general, to be honest. But who knows? Maybe I'll go wild and go to IKEA as soon as it opens, just for the experience. Do they still do the meatballs? Is that a thing?
I imagine they still do the meatballs, don't they? I think that was the reason anyone ever went.
Anyone goes, yeah.
Yeah.
It's been all right. We've just had Easter, one of the busiest weekends of the year for me, but fun, yeah. Fun.
Nice, lots of chocolate.
Yeah, actually.
Apparently, there was an Easter egg shortage. Apparently.
Huh.
Not
the
Well,
United
around
States.
here.
Okay. Yeah.
Really? Overflow.
What, in your area in particular, or just in...
Well, yeah, in the area there was local groups that my wife's part of saying, I need Easter eggs for my kids. Where can I get them?
That's a shame.
Apparently service stations was the go-to after supermarkets ran out.
I can believe that. There's the same thing with toilet roll at the beginning of the lockdown last year. If you go to the corner shops and the service stations, they'd have very expensive toilet roll, but, some people just didn't think to go there.
Needs must.
Yeah.
If you want to see more of us, you can head on over to patreon.com/justinteresting, where this week we've spoken about the person who was falsely accused of getting that massive tanker stuck in a Suez Canal. And we also spoke a little bit about COVID passports, whether they're a good thing or a bad thing. Well, we'll let you decide, but we give our thoughts. So be sure to head on over there if you're interested.
I've never seen Robin as angry as in that Patreon exclusive one. So
I did get surprisingly
furious.
fired up, didn't I?
Fuming.
Yeah. So if you want
What
to
can I
see
say? I
Robin,
like passports.
if you want to see Robin even more angry than when he loses the quiz after a dramatic comeback like last week, then
That was
then
a
do
good
head on
comeback.
over. Thank you.
That was Martin subtly plugging his own victory there.
If you haven't seen it, just go to 43 minutes now. But this week, gentlemen, we are talking about, well, the main topic, we're talking about Matt Gaetz, who's genuinely a bit of a nutter, the Florida congressman, who has been, accused of child sex trafficking. And so he's been trying to defend himself in the most bizarre ways this week. So we're going to go over that and discuss that topic. But before we get onto that, we are going to discuss what we've learned this week. So, Alex.
Oh, me.
What have you learned this week?
Well, I was, feeling a bit nostalgic this week. So I was looking back at, one of my favourite dishes growing up. And, well, not growing up, but like when I moved off to uni. And I think many students survived on this through uni. And that's pasta and cheese. And I was actually thinking,
solid recipe. Yeah.
When was the first ever just pasta and cheese recipe? Martin's laughing. Did you ever survive on pasta and cheese?
Maybe. I mean, I'm just thinking of the the intro of this podcast is probably more interesting than it has any right to be. And then the first fact on the podcast is pasta and cheese.
It's going to get interesting.
Bear with me.
It's going to get interesting.
Is it the simple pasta cheese recipe where you boil the pasta and you literally just stir the cheese in? You don't make a cheese sauce. You just stir it in.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. Like sometimes you wouldn't even stir it in. You just take the pasta out and just grate some cheese on top.
Grate some cheese on top. Also, simple. Yeah.
I remember times at school. didn't have enough lunch money left for the old sauce. Probably spent it on a donut at a break, and I was like, yeah, it's going to have to be pasta and cheese. I did that a couple of times, but it's not the best, is it?
No. But my fact is, when do you think the first ever recorded instance of pasta and cheese was?
Ooh, pasta and cheese. I'm going to say...
862 BC. Bloody good year.
862 BC.
That's
Okay.
very specific. Okay. I was going to go back further and say Roman times. But it was the Romans.
Well, this might not be as interesting as I thought, because it's actually the 14th century in an Italian cookbook, which featured a dish of parmesan and pasta. Okay, different one. Slightly different, but kind of the same. How about mac and cheese? Macaroni cheese.
Surely that's
More specific.
Isn't that the recipe they're referring to? That's like the definitive pasta cheese dish. Macaroni cheese?
It's different. It's different. And if you don't know why, then I can't help you.
Was it invented by the British? Is it one of those meals?
It was invented by the British.
Really?
Yeah. It was actually also in the 14th century. And this was written in a medieval English cookbook that was written by Elizabeth Raffald, who is a really interesting figure, and I'll come on to her in a second. But the original recipe said, take and make a thin foil of dough and curve it on pieces and cast hem on boiling water and seethe it well. Take cheese...
Seethe it well.
Take cheese and grate it and butter cast, bind the thin, and above as lozines.
This is Charlie Kelly from It's Always Sunny.
and seru forth. And what that means is make a thin sheet of dough and cut it into pieces, so you're making the pasta shapes.
Yeah.
Cast them in boiling water and seethe or boil them. Then take cheese, grate it and add it, and place butter beneath and above as with lozins, which is like a lasagna kind of thing. So it's basically layering the pasta with cheese sauce. So that's the first ever recorded instance of mac and cheese. But I said earlier, Elizabeth Raffald, this lady's like incredible.
Like lasagna,
she invented the first ever mac and cheese, but she's also invented poached eggs on toast. She has the first ever recorded recipe for crumpets, Robin. Crumpets.
They're so essential.
I know, and the first ever mention of a bridal cake is in this book. So, like a wedding
Bridal cake and crumpet.
Wow.
I'll have mine and eat it.
There we go.
Anyway, that fact got a little bit away from me, but
yes.
all stemmed from my love of pasta and cheese. So
I don't know if we can follow that up, Alex. Martin, have you got anything good?
Oh, well, I wouldn't necessarily say good, but it is interesting. And my fact's a short one this week. It's the fact that grasshoppers predate grass by about 200 million years.
What?
Say what?
Yes. So grasshoppers are around 250 million years ago, and the first records of grass existing on Earth were around 55 million years ago. So the grasshopper came before grass by a long way. So was it just
Did grasshoppers begrudge
What did they
that?
hop on?
Exactly. Who knows? Who knows?
It just
Doesn't make any sense. Don't they? I thought they would have evolved to
Pixar movie.
look like grass. Because they do a
There
little
we go,
bit.
Alex. They do a little bit, but
They've got a bit of camouflage, yeah.
Existed way
I mean,
before
55
that.
million years is long enough to evolve to look a bit like grass, isn't it? Even if you
That's true.
Yeah,
That's
I wonder
grass,
what they
yeah.
looked like all that time ago.
I now want to see the next Pixar movie about the young grasshopper who wants to hop on grass, and his parents are like, what are you talking about? Grass isn't a thing. So he goes on a quest to find the first blade of grass, and then he's a grasshopper.
Yeah.
And that, children, is how the first grasshopper came to be. Do they get angry that when the first people started calling them grasshoppers, and were they just like, I'm not going to be defined by grass. I was here before then.
I imagine they were furious. I imagine they were absolutely
furious.
Livid.
fuming. Yeah. Yeah. So
Wow.
short and sweet this week, but yeah.
That was good.
That's really
Interesting
interesting.
That was a nice balance to Alex's incredible, mind-blowing and detailed mac and cheese and crumpet and poached eggs on toast fact. I
It was,
love
it was a nice balance to my incredible one.
Yeah.
You're just kind of average one.
No, that's not what I meant.
Understand? So
That's not what I
because
meant.
We're not boring. So mine was boring. Yours was too interesting.
That's not what I meant.
And they were just interesting enough overall. So yours has got to be
Walked into
bang on
that.
average, Robin.
No,
What have you got for us this week?
My bang on average fact is about yawning.
Oh no, it's a disaster.
So I think we've probably all heard the theories and the suggestions that yawning. We all know yawning is contagious. If someone else yawns, then you yawn too.
Yes.
They say it's a thing that's peculiar to social animals and particularly mammals. Well, there's a new study into yawning in lions, and apparently lions yawn as well. Big cats, we all know they yawn, and scientists started studying their yawning patterns, and they noticed that just like humans, they yawn most frequently at the beginning and the end of the day, when they're waking up and when they're going to sleep, which suggests that the theory that people yawn in order to get their blood circulating around their head in order to get it into their brain so they can start waking up properly is correct, that lions do the same thing. But another peculiar behavior they noticed in lions was that if a lion yawns and another lion yawns, the second lion that yawned is, what's the statistic? Well, it's incredibly likely to then to mimic whatever the other lion does. So if the first lion to yawn is lying down and then they get up, the second lion to yawn will also stand up. And if that first lion decides to go off hunting, the second lion will go off hunting. So the social leaders of any particular activity will often, well, not often, but if they yawn first, they're the ones who will lead the pack for that little bit of activity.
Is this a way to, I don't know, manipulate people into doing what you want by just yawning? Is that what this is leading to?
Maybe. The statistic was that a lion is 139 times more likely to yawn in response to another lion than it is to instigate the yawning.
Wow. To be honest, I never knew the first fact about why we yawn to begin with. And about blood circulating. I don't think I've ever previously thought about why we actually yawn.
Oh, there you go. Well, now observe, and this goes to our listeners and viewers as well. Next time you yawn, let me know if you then start copying the behaviour of the person you yawned with. If that makes sense. Or if you were the first person to yawn, will they copy you? Like Alex said, is this a way that we can start getting people to do what we want?
I'd be interested to see any stats on interspecies yawning, because my cat yawned yesterday. And I yawned straight after. So I don't know whether, it spreads across species. But it seemed to, in that instance. I don't know whether it was completely coincidental.
There is another statistic about dogs yawning. Dogs are more likely to yawn if their owner yawns first, but not if another human who doesn't own them yawns.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So they'll respond to their owner, but not to another human. And that suggests, Martin, that your cat owns you.
Yeah, well, definitely, for sure.
It's also that in that instance, that's very interesting that the dog recognizes what a yawn is in another species. I don't know why I find that interesting, but
we recognize dogs yawning, so I guess maybe it's one of those. Yeah. I often wonder if humans, there's a whole bunch of skills that humans have, and because we know that we're using those skills, we think, it's because we've evolved and we're intelligent, but actually, no.
Other animals have them as well.
Most animals have them. We just it's the higher thinking, like the writing and the maths that we can do that other animals can't necessarily do. I don't know. Maybe there's some maths geniuses in dogs. I don't know.
I guess with us, we almost think that the yawn, when someone else is yawning, is just reactionary, isn't it? It's almost a blind reaction to someone else yawning. It's like, they're yawning, we're yawning, we can't help it. Whereas it seems like with the dog example, it's definitely a social interaction, a social cue, when it's with the owner and not with a stranger. Which is very interesting. Intriguing.
Thank you. I hope that averaged out.
That was good. That's a good fact.
Yeah, that was a good fact,
actually. Slightly now in the balance of interesting to boring. So we're going to have to bring it down a little bit with comments from our fans online. So have you got any good comments for us this week?
Yeah, so I've got a comment from Sir Chris McCrate, who is one of our most loyal fans. Thank you, Sir Chris.
Thank you.
Who commented on our last video, which was, of course, our live Twitch one, our live Twitch podcast, and he commented saying, "Great video as always. It was fun to catch it live. Also found out the quizzes are a lot harder when answering live." And it was really fun doing the quiz live because we were able to get people incorporated into the quiz, and they could take part. So, I mean, I think doing more live podcasts is definitely something that we're going to want to try again, maybe, in the future. So, So make sure you're following us on Twitch and get notified when we do one.
But where can people find us, Alex?
They can find us over on twitch.com/just_interesting, I think.
I think it's switched to twitch.tv.
Oh, yeah. That's the one.
Close enough.
Close but no cigar.
But yeah. And Martin said that if we get to 250 followers, he's going to dye his hair blue.
Whoa. That was by the time of recording this podcast.
Yeah.
We're close.
That was by Good Friday. Yeah, that was a Good Friday deadline. Yeah.
Well, my comment this week is from Rocket Summer. Rocket Summer says, can one of your Patreon stretch goals be to get enough money to participate in the foreskin parade?
If someone hasn't watched last week's video, then...
yeah, we need a bit of context here.
Do we?
Foreskin parade was in last week's video. If you haven't watched that one, maybe watch that first and come back to this one. But yeah, maybe. Well, I mean, how much should that be in terms of getting there? What country was it in again?
Yeah, well, I think it was in Italy. I think they have stopped it now because the whole point was they lost the foreskin that was at the centre of the parade. So we might struggle to get involved. We'd have to invent a time machine
to bring it back.
Or bring our own. Oh, okay, well.
Yeah, bring our own. Bring the parade back. And get the whole... I mean, that sounds expensive, doesn't it?
Could we do...
A little bit.
Could we fund like an expedition, like a treasure hunting expedition to find the holy foreskin? What would that Patreon stretch goal be? I mean, that sounds pretty fun, to be honest.
That does sound like an Indiana Jones adventure. Yeah.
50,000.
50,000?
50,000.
Okay. 50,000.
You know how hard it is to find a foreskin? You know how small those things are?
Check behind the prison wall.
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay, I'm glad anyone who listened to last week's podcast and who, especially if you watched us live, thank you. But I hope you enjoyed that little spiel. Anyone who didn't listen to last week's podcast is going to be very confused for all the references we've just been making. But despite that, my comment is also from last week's podcast, which is from Cree Spence, who says, could you imagine being the guy whose foreskin was mistaken for Jesus's? Almost as good as being Jesus.
It's a close second.
I mean, in the sense that, the good stuff happened after you were dead. Up to that point.
I mean,
but questionable.
So this was the theory that basically for like hundreds of years, different churches were like had a foreskin, and they were saying it was the foreskin of Christ. But I mean, presuming it wasn't the actual foreskin, it was someone's. So imagine how weird that would be if it was yours.
Could have been called Jesus. That would have been a coincidence, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Although the Catholic Church is making this mistake, just confused it. Some guy's like, it's just my mate Jesus' foreskin. It's not the Jesus. Okay, we've got to go along with it now.
In a terrible case of mistaken identity. Yeah. There we go.
This is 2 podcasts now where we've spoken about foreskins way too much.
Extensively. Well, I guess
from one dick to another.
Well, I was going to say, from discarded foreskins to an absolute bellend, let's discuss Matt Gaetz. And hope he doesn't sue. So this week it was announced that Matt Gaetz, the Republican representative for Florida, was he was being accused and being investigated by the FBI of child sex trafficking. So some really, really serious accusations against him. And this comes on the back of him supposedly traveling with a girl and having a sexual relationship with a girl who's 17 years old across state lines, and him basically paying for this all expenses trips across state lines and breaking federal law as a result. And so he's basically come out against this and said that, of course, it's a conspiracy. He's being set up by Democrats who are trying to undermine him, and that he's being targeted by the FBI in this investigation. But it gets a little bit more complicated when an aide of his, a guy called John Greenberg, was actually convicted of similar charges. He was actually charged with having sexual relationships with minors and for sex trafficking himself. He's in a really, really tough spot here in terms of what he does next. He basically, last week, he said that he might actually resign from the House, but has since backtracked on that and saying that he's going to defend himself and basically clear his name of this misconduct. But the interesting thing is, in a bill from 2017, a bill against human sex trafficking, 418 members of Congress, so every other member of Congress, voted for this bill against sex trafficking. And Gaetz voted against it. The one member of Congress who voted against it, and he was basically saying that he didn't want any, to increase federal bureaucracy. He wasn't being sent to Congress to do that. So that was his defense. Do you think someone who's who's wanting to defend himself in this way, that's not a great look, is it? Being the only person in Congress to vote against that. And so he's recently also come out to say that Nancy Pelosi's a hypocrite for defending Bill Clinton in the Monica Lewinsky case and not defending him. So Matt's had an interesting few weeks, and it's not the first time that he's had relationships with younger girls. Let's say he had a relationship with a staff member of his who was 21 years old. So of course legal, and that's a massive difference there. But at the same time, he has a little bit of a reputation for getting around, members of staff, etc. So, yes, what do you guys think about Gaetz? He's a bit of a caricature, isn't he, in the Republican Party?
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's so many weird stories. I think we can kind of talk about all the weird stories wrapped up in one, and it's kind of culminated in this, this crazy outbreak of stories about him this week. And it's kind of almost like the missing piece of the puzzle of something weird that's always been going on with him. Like the 2017 thing where he was the sole vote against the human trafficking bill. Presuming, if you assume that he's totally innocent, if he's, for whatever reason, just absolutely innocent, he must be regretting that massively. It's like, why did I do that? That was so stupid.
It does not look good.
I don't understand why you would do that anyway, because it's it's not going to make a difference. That, most of the people in your district would be very much for legislation against human trafficking. It just seems bizarre to vote against that. I mean, it's obviously, he was a Trump loyalist, wasn't he? He was a Trump advocate, and so maybe he's someone who thinks I'm going to get notoriety for going against the grain.
I think that's
the only reason I can think of.
That's the only reason why someone would vote against that, but to be the one person who voted no for it. Just to get the kind of media exposure, I guess.
I think that's it. Just the last year alone, all his appearances on Fox News, I think it's 87 minutes in total that he's appeared on air on Fox News, which is almost a record for a congressman with so little status as him. He loves the attention, clearly.
Yeah.
But it's almost it helps, like you say, it helps build a case against him when he can say you're literally the only member of Congress who didn't vote for these anti-sex trafficking laws, human trafficking laws. And why was that? Is it because perhaps you realised that having read the laws, you would be liable under them? I think that's the thing, because part of his defence as well with this 17-year-old girl that he allegedly paid all the expenses for to get her across state lines and to put her up in a hotel. Did you mention that also apparently using campaign funds?
Yes,
to do it.
I didn't, but yes, you're right.
Dodgy anyway. But part of his defense is that he hasn't denied that they had the relationship. He said, "I was a generous partner. I've always been guilty of being generous in relationships."
People are misconstruing.
A non-denial denial.
Yeah,
and it's like, that's a weird way to. That response suggests that the relationship did happen, and it probably was sexual. And obviously, you would know, particularly as a lawmaker in Congress, that a 17-year-old is underage by American law. For the record, in Britain, the age of consent is 16. So there's all kinds of cultural debates to be had about the ethics of it. But the point is that he's a lawmaker, knowingly breaking the law, probably in this case, allegedly at least, according to the FBI, who are investigating him. At the same time, his bizarre defense includes the Department of Justice and the FBI carrying out some kind of extortion scheme against his dad. And this whole sex trafficking investigation is part of this extortion scheme to get his dad to pay $25 million. And it started... What was the reason? It started with people from the Department of Justice approaching his dad saying they've got some dodgy stuff on Matt Gaetz. I can't remember what they said it was. Was it sex trafficking? Was it they were saying
it
that
it was information that would expose him as being basically a sex trafficker.
Okay, yeah. So he's saying that these sex trafficking charges started as an extortion scheme against when they went to his dad, said give us $25 million. His dad said no, and then they said they've carried on with this sex trafficking investigation.
On Fox News, he basically came out and demanded that the FBI release these audio transcripts from conversations that they've had with his dad.
Who was wearing a wire, wasn't he?
Who was wearing a wire, apparently. And then also on that same show, this is just another addition to this bizarre saga. He possibly, so this was with Tucker Carlson, possibly implicated Tucker Carlson in this whole grand scheme by saying that they had gone out to dinner 2 years prior to that, and he said that, your wife was there, and I brought a friend along who you'll remember, and said that she had also been a victim of the FBI trying to extort her in some kind of pay-for-play scheme. And Tucker Carlson immediately was like, I don't remember that. I don't remember that. Which, as you pointed out, Martin, like before the podcast, you don't say that, do you? You kind of you would know, wouldn't you?
Yeah,
you would know if you went
yes,
for dinner with a sitting member of Congress.
Or you say no. Yeah, it's the kind of thing you probably wouldn't forget. I know these guys obviously go out all the time, don't they? Meet up with loads and loads of people, probably multiple times, even a day. But you remember, don't you? You remember.
Yeah.
The last couple of years if you've been up.
But you denied
Especially
it live
Matt
on air.
Gaetz.
So
You'd remember a dinner with Matt Gaetz, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
It'd be so strange.
You'd think so. You'd think so.
But did you mention also that last year there was a kind of small scandal about Matt Gaetz because of this Joel Greenberg, who there was evidence on his phones. I think he had receipts for having paid women for sex, and the women claimed that Matt Gaetz was one of the clients he had facilitated. So already there's a strong claim against Matt Gaetz for being willing to pay for sex, and then you've got this thing about underage women, and this Joel Greenberg who's under sex trafficking investigation. So it's all looking very likely that Matt Gaetz is connected to, if not involved.
Well, Joel Greenberg's been charged.
Yeah.
And been charged with sex trafficking of a minor. And according to reports, it's the same minor involved in the Joel Greenberg case as it is with Matt as well. So
also, in addition to that, CNN reported this week that an employee at Greenberg's office, his tax collector's office, saw Greenberg and Gaetz on a surveillance video looking through driver's licenses on a weekend evening. And I think this was like a meeting that wasn't in the calendar, basically. Yeah. And it was just, and two other outlets reported that surveillance camera footage showed Greenberg and another man in the tax collector's office at night. So there's a lot linking the two of them, it seems like. And this is just the information that obviously the public has.
Yeah.
This all stemmed from an FBI investigation that was overflowing from this original Greenberg investigation. And just kind of Matt Gaetz got swept up in it, I guess.
But yes, if I may move the conversation on slightly to a different tangent, what I want to know is, here we have a situation where a member of the US Congress is under investigation for child sex trafficking. Does this sound familiar? Does this ring any bells? Pizza comes to mind. The Clintons, QAnon. That's what I'm thinking about. QAnon.
Are you talking, Robert? Are you referring to the fact that the QAnon supporters have vehemently come to the defence of Gaetz over this, despite it being completely, it was really supporting what they were so adamantly against in the case of Pizzagate. And people like to say that it's a moral issue, isn't it? But QAnon and Pizzagate showed that more than anything, it's about being part of a movement, and especially a movement against a political side that you don't like. The truth doesn't really come into it. It's very much about backing your horse, isn't it?
Yeah, it's about being pro-Trump. And Matt Gaetz has even used that word, I think, in part of his defence, saying that the deep state is after him because he supported Trump.
which is interesting.
I think
because,
he
of
also
course-
threatened to resign in support of Trump as well, didn't he? So
Oh, did he? Oh, I don't know about
I think
that.
he just
Okay.
wants to resign for some reason.
He's had enough.
Well, I
I'm
think-
not surprised.
Well, this was like a few weeks ago. He was starting to say like he might step back and resign in order to take a cushy conservative media job.
Yeah.
And there were like rumblings then that something was going to come out, and that's why he was thinking of stepping back, so he's not like in the limelight. But now that it's all come out, I think his best option is to stay where he is, because that's where he might have the best chance of defending himself.
I mean, that's what Roger Stone's advice is to Matt Gaetz. Having appeared on Alex Jones's InfoWars, his advice was keep making public appearances, keep shouting about it, don't give up the limelight, basically. Yeah. And I think, to be honest, why not take Roger Stone's advice? It's served him well, and all the people he's advised for years.
You're less likely to get a pardon these days, though, I expect. I don't think Biden's likely to throw around pardons for Matt Gaetz.
Oh.
Oh.
Yeah, make a good point.
Yeah. There was also this was another weird story that came out about Matt Gaetz. We have to talk about the whole Nestor situation.
That was last year. wasn't it?
His son originally from Cuba.
Son, quotation marks.
He's not biologically related to him or through any kind of adoption records related to Matt Gaetz. But this was last year. Matt, I think he was being accused of racism for something that he said. And he came out and said, I can't be racist. I've got a son from Cuba that, is my son. And he was he's like a 19-year-old kid that just lives with Matt Gaetz, who's apparently, he's raised him since he was 12. And when asked for, like, why are you calling him your son when you have no records of it? I think he said something like, our relationship is defined by love, not by paperwork, which is weird. It's a weird thing to say.
I can excuse the fact that there might not be an official title. It's a bit like when your parents' friends, you might call them an auntie or something, even though they're not legally an auntie, they're a friend or whatever. I get it, but it's just the fact that you're using that as a defense of not being racist. It's like bringing up a son that no one's ever heard of.
Yeah.
Well, I think that was the weird thing about it. Like, no one knew who this was prior to this.
Yeah,
like he just brought it up out of nowhere.
It's weird, but I don't hold that against him particularly.
I think his official story for it was that the sister of so Nestor, when he was 12, his mum died of breast cancer, and apparently he moved to the States where his sister was a state legislator, and Gaetz was dating his sister. I don't know why Nestor then moved in and stayed with him even after their relationship ended.
Problem is whether it would be nice to think it's
story.
platonic and it's a charitable act, but it's a pattern of behaviour, isn't it? That's the problem. And even at the time, people were suspicious. And they said, why have you been living with this 12-year-old man, 12-year-old boy, who's of not only no blood relation, but you haven't taken any legal responsibility for at all. He's not your ward, he's not your adopted son, you're just living together. And then you say weird things like that, defined by love, not paperwork. And to be honest, like Martin said, if I'd heard that story at the time, I probably would have thought, oh, well, even the most despicable sleazebags have good qualities, and he's done something good for this kid. But now you look back and think, his penchant for young lovers, and particularly legal minors, is a little weird.
And the human trafficking kind of allegations.
Another,
as well.
from Cuba to Florida,
So I mean, there's a lot to it, I guess. But in terms of his comparisons with Bill Clinton and Monica Lewinsky, there's obviously one big difference, which is that Monica Lewinsky, whatever you think about what Bill Clinton did, she was 22, and the accusations against him are about a 17-year-old girl. So it's a little bit different.
She was an intern working at the White House. She had every right to be there. She had every power of consent. So legally, Clinton did nothing wrong. Ethically, yes. Legally, no.
Do you think that Fox, especially with Carlson denying the fact that they met, do you think he'll slowly fade out of their the public eye on that channel in particular?
Almost.
Do you think they'll just usher him out of the door and keep him away? Because it said that one of Trump's advisors told Trump that even a 10-foot barge pole is not long enough for Matt Gaetz. So there's obviously, people know that he's not one to be associated with if you want to go far. I don't know whether there's any knowledge of his dodgy dealings and what's going on as a result of this, these accusations. But we shall see.
That's what I've been reading and stuff. Like, it's interesting. Like, the Republican Party generally, when a scandal comes out about one of them, they tend to galvanize around that individual and like defend them, and a lot of whataboutism, a lot of that kind of Bill Clinton comparisons. Whereas in this instance, they're all just deathly silent. The silence is deafening.
Apart from Luke Ball, who was Gates' spokesman, who resigned.
Oh, as director of communications.
Yeah, he went.
Not a great sign. Not a great sign.
Yeah, not a good sign. Getting the hell out of there. So,
but yeah, I mean, it kind of makes you think that either they know that there's more out there and it's going to come out, and they want to be, like you say, further than a 10-foot pole away from him. Or the other theory I've heard is that Matt Gaetz is like the epitome of Trumpism. He's the most fervent Trump supporter, and this is like their way of rile, like if he takes the fall, then he can be a kind of like martyr for the Trump movement, and it will just rile up the base for the midterms, that kind of Trump supporting base, and get them to turn out for the midterms.
Interesting.
If, like,
get rid of an awkward colleague who also happily would give up political
kill two
capital
birds
in
with
the
one
midterms.
stone. They get rid of this weird creep, and then also like all the voters turn out.
Would you really want to base your support on your support base backing someone who could be then convicted of child sex trafficking? It's a risky game to play, I think.
Yeah,
to get people riled up in support of Matt Gaetz.
I don't know. They all get away with it. US politicians, or at both sides of the aisle, they get away with all kinds of things. So I doubt he'll get convicted. I would be surprised if he got convicted.
Well, either they get riled up, or the other scenario happens where people finally see, oh, this is the kind of people Trump surrounds himself with. Maybe we need to cool off, return to the center a little bit. And I think maybe a lot of Republicans might like that as well. A lot of the Mitt Romney-esque Republicans, maybe.
I think it's up to Mitch McConnell, really. I think he'll still determine whether they play the Trump card and try to get that base vote out, or whether they try to distance themselves from Trump in the midterms. I suspect they'll do the former and play up the Trump card because that's all they've got, really. That's
going to be fascinating to see, isn't it? How much they dig into. I think especially since Trump's no longer on social media. I know it's not everyone's on social media. A big part of his base isn't. But in terms of getting the message out about Trump still being their messiah, to put it in a horrible way.
They might
how effective will that be without the main man being there? Interesting.
They might find a new name for it, perhaps a new way of expressing it. But there'll be the same feelings, the same basic. The
rhetoric will be there,
that they tap into. And I think they'll win the midterms almost certainly, because not only is there a historical pattern for that, but the Democrats have such a slim hold on power.
I think the response to the way Biden's dealt with the pandemic and the rollout of the vaccine has been positive, and that's of course such a huge issue in America at the moment. As I think as well, was in the 70% of people think that he's done either a good or an excellent job at that. So interesting to see whether his personal approval rating and that of the Democratic Party could increase among those kind of swing voters as a result of the handling of the pandemic. But we shall see.
But if they do a good job and things have been normal by 6 months to a year come the midterms, then that's more than enough time for people to forget about that and for the
That's a good
Republicans
point.
to
Good
make a
point.
mistake and create another
gotta
scandal.
You've got to time your good deeds, haven't you?
Yeah, that's the problem. And I think,
Yeah.
well, maybe Matt Gaetz will get arrested around the midterms. Who knows?
Who knows?
But
There
that's
we
beside
go.
the point, perhaps. Well, what do you guys think? Do we think Matt Gaetz is guilty, or do we think he's the victim of a conspiracy and QAnon know the truth?
There we go.
What do
I
you
think you know
That is-
our opinions on it.
We haven't said anything that's libelous, okay? We've stated the facts and possibly our opinions. Anyway, shall we move on to this week's quiz?
Yay!
Welcome to the quiz. 10 questions as always, and a bonus question if we're tied. Gentlemen, to answer the quiz, you have to have a buzzer. Do you have your buzzers ready?
Yeah.
I've got mine.
Good, good. Alex, what have you got for us today?
I've got, well, it's not really a classic, but it was popular a couple of months ago. And,
Soon to be
I
classic.
I want to bring
Soon
it
to be.
back, you know. It's the classic Jackie Weaver saga.
Switch of vice chairs here. I take charge.
I take charge.
Read them and understand them.
Read them and understand
Read them
them.
and understand them. I was, for about a couple of weeks, I was just walking around the flat going, I take charge. So,
Wonderful.
Yeah.
That is a brilliant, brilliant clip. Robin,
Brilliant.
what have you got for us this week?
My new favourite buzzer. Here it is.
Oh,
I'm escaping to the one place that hasn't been corrupted by capitalism. Space!
Spice.
I love it. Spice.
spies.
The one and only Tim Curry from, did I say Red Alert 3?
Yeah.
Is that what I said? I can't remember now.
I think so.
Red Alert
One of, the,
3.
one
One
of
of
the
those
red alerts.
games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, right. Question number 1. Which of these cloud types is described as white and fluffy? Cumulus, stratus, or cirrus?
I'm escaping to the one place that hasn't been corrupted by capitalism.
I think I heard Jackie Weaver there first.
What was the first one you said?
Cumulus, stratus, or cirrus?
I'm going to go for humorless. First
What was
one.
that?
First one.
The first one, cumulus.
Cumulus.
It is cumulus.
Yes.
Didn't even know.
White and fluffy.
Yeah, I didn't even know what it was. I heard the other ones. I thought stratus was like stratosphere, and then I wasn't convinced by the other one. So
Okay, fair enough. Well, good deduction.
Thank
Correct.
you.
1-0 to Alex. Question number 2. How much did the biggest pizza ever measure? I've written that poorly. How much did the biggest pizza ever measure?
in terms like the diameter or the,
length in diameter.
okay.
What unit of measurement are we using?
I can convert, so go for I've got it in feet.
Okay.
But if you're desperate to use
Largest
meters,
pizza ever.
then I can quickly.
Is this the closest
quickly
wins, or
convert
is it a definitive?
Oh,
Yes
yeah,
or
no, we'll go closest
Okay.
wins. Yeah,
Okay.
The
Largest
largest
pizza
ever.
yeah.
Hmm.
Yup.
Illegally.
Yes.
I'm going to go 20 feet.
20 feet. Ooh, 20-foot pizza. Okay.
I was going to go 20 feet as well.
Oh,
Okay, then I will
which
go
way are you going to go?
21 feet.
21 feet. Well, Robin, you are correct. It's 122 feet and 8 inches.
What? That's
Yep.
mad.
It weighed 26,883 pounds.
Whoa. What
Was
the
it like
toppings?
was it like in a circle or was it just one straight
Yeah, no, it was
long
a
line?
giant circle. It was made in South Africa.
Did they
Back
cook
in
it
the-
Back in the
22
early
feet?
90s.
in
Yeah.
the sun?
I bet that was terrible pizza.
Yeah.
It's bound to be.
How do you
isn't
even
it? And they
stretch
use-
the dough that far?
Well, yeah, good question. Yeah. Usually with these things, they make smaller ones and then combine them together, don't they?
That's
but
not
but,
fa- that's not
I
right.
have no. Well, they do. But I found a
That's
sort of
not
picture of it, and it is a giant circular pizza. So
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah,
Logistically, how
there
did
we
they
go.
achieve that?
there we go. I have to do some intense research into that, and maybe bring it as the
How did they cook
fact
that?
for next week.
Imagine
did
the
they even
stink
cook
from the
that?
pepperoni.
Yeah, I think it was tomato. They used lots of cheese and they used mushrooms as well.
Oh, that sounds good.
Yeah. I think it was
Maybe,
veggie. I think
maybe
so.
they used blowtorches to cook it, or again, just left out in the sun. Put it on a
Oh,
hot rock.
yum.
Maybe. Maybe. I didn't go into a whole load of detail about the pizza, but I will. And I'll bring that next week.
Okay, thank you.
Question number 3, 1-1. What is the rarest blood type in the world?
By 2 counselors. Illegally.
Yes. Alex, what are you going for? The rarest blood type?
I believe that is O negative.
It is not O negative.
What a shout, though, that would have been. What a great
Escaping
guess.
to the one place that hasn't been
That would have been a good chat if you got that. So I'll go with AB negative.
It's AB negative.
What?
Is it actually?
Well done. It is.
Hey.
It is.
All right
It is. Yep. The rarest by quite a distance
How
as
do
well.
you know that?
It's one of the few blood types that I've heard mentioned in detective thrillers.
Yes. In the UK, I'm just having a quick look. In the UK, it makes up just 1%.
Oh, really?
But in a lot of countries, it makes up far less than that. In Vietnam, for instance,
Yeah.
0.02%.
Wow.
Oh.
Similarly in Taiwan. So very rare, very rare. The
Prince-
most common is O positive.
Well, not
The
even good
most
at being
common.
rare.
Maybe I got that wrong then.
You said O negative. You said O negative, which is
Yeah.
around about 5 to 10% usually,
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
Yeah.
or 5 to 7% roughly. Although it varies massively.
I don't know my blood type. I should find that out, shouldn't I?
But you
I
have
think
to
I'm
give
O, I
blood
think
for
I'm
that.
O positive.
Oh.
I'm pretty sure.
So is that the most common?
But
did
I'm
you
the
say?
most common. I'm a commoner. Yeah,
Well,
I don't mind. It's good. It means you
It's
can.
good, yeah.
that's if you
give me
need a
blood.
blood transplant, yeah, transfusion.
You don't
sorry.
want you don't want to be rare when it comes to that. Right. That is 2-1 to Robin. Question number 4. When was Wikipedia founded?
Is this closest
corrupted
thing?
by capitalism.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah,
Oh
probably.
no! Now the
I'll
stakes
give
have
you a
changed.
I'll give you a couple of guesses. If you don't get it right the first time, and then maybe we'll go closest wins on a second round through.
I'm happy to go straight for closest wins.
Why not?
So are we going closest wins from the off, or from? Are we going guesses?
We're going guesses
Okay,
first.
we're going guesses. I bet it's older than I think. I bet it's 1996.
Okay. Alex.
I'm gonna guess 19. I think Robin's very close, so I'm not like being a dick by being so close. I'll guess 1997.
Okay. Well, I can say that you're both wrong. Would
Okay.
you like to update your guesses at all?
Oh yes, please.
Okay.
Escaping to the one place that hasn't been corrupted by capitalism.
2003.
2003.
No,
Okay.
that's wrong. I bet it's wrong.
Alex, what are you thinking?
I can't. Oh, I don't know. This is really tough. Okay, I'll go 2001.
January 2001. Alex is correct. Very much closest wins. It's got the year.
Nice.
Very good. 2-all.
Good guess.
2-all,
Good guess.
2001. Question number 5. At what age does a baby become a toddler?
Space.
Is that your answer? Space.
As well as a spies. Was that me first, or was that Alex?
You,
I think
it
that was you
definitely
first.
you, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know the answer, so I'm just going. Did you say this closest wins? Or is this an answer?
No, it's an answer.
Okay, fair enough. That's right, because you are a parent, so you should know. 14. No.
14 years old.
No, that's not what I was going to say. I was going to say months. I'm going to say months.
14.
I know. I'm joking. I'm having a laugh, a bloody good
I
laugh.
don't know anymore, and I'm kind of second guess. No, I'll stick with it. 14 months. I'll stick with it.
Okay, 14 months.
Illegally.
I'll go. You said 14 months.
Yeah.
I'll say 20 months.
20 months. Okay, well, you're both wrong, so we're going to go closest wins again.
Okay.
I like this format.
Oh, the second
Yeah,
guess.
you're going to update. Yeah, you're going to
Alright.
second guess. You're going to second guess yourself. See? Yeah.
This is like in Deal or No Deal, where they say, "Do you want to swap the box?"
Exactly.
One place that hasn't been corrupted by capitalism.
So, at the risk of giving Alex helpful clues, I know that babies start walking by the time they're a year old,
Okay.
typically. But when they become a toddler, that's like a specific thing when they're kind of more, I'm a child and I can communicate and run and demand things, isn't it? Right. So 14 months was wrong. So I'm going to go with 18 months.
Okay.
I'll be honest, I'm the youngest child. I know nothing about babies or toddlers. Never had to look after one. Never babysat any
No.
child. So I know
Just
nothing
leave
about
all
this.
your pregnant lovers alone
And
to
another
raise the
thing-
child.
Like I was thinking, I don't know. Like I was thinking before this, like 4. I don't. So you said 18 months. What did I say? 20.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm going to stick with my answer. I don't know.
20 months.
Yeah.
It's 1 year old, 12 months.
Oh, yeah. Wait, what am I talking
One.
about? I was thinking 24 months then in a year. It's too late. Okay, so Robin got it.
Robin gets the point. 3-2
you.
to Robin.
I feel I
as we
definitely
move
did
on.
not earn that point, but thank you.
Oh yeah, no, you did.
Yeah,
You're
you
I
right.
changed my
14
answer
months
to
is very
further
close.
away.
Well, yeah, but that's the fun of second guess. That's what we're calling it now, second guess. Question number 6, 3-2. In The Lord of the Rings, which member of the Fellowship tries to destroy the ring at Rivendell?
Space!
Oh, I think you were just there, Alex.
That would be Gimli, son of
It would be.
Gloin.
But Gimli, son of Gloin, very good. Very good.
So
3-all.
disappointed in myself.
Why don't we destroy it?
Boom. Yeah. You know what? I was watching Lord of the Rings
Oh yeah.
and got to Rivendell, and then the DVD just went.
No.
Oh, no.
Yeah,
No.
DVD's gone.
Time to
Gone,
upgrade
so-
to the 4K Blu-ray.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, if I had something to play it on, I would.
You got a PlayStation?
Yeah, they don't know 4K Blu-rays, just standard Blu-rays. So I could upgrade to that, I guess.
Yeah.
No, that's all right. That's not.
Who's your
Who
favourite
not?
character?
Oof, in the whole of the Lord of the Rings franchise.
Yeah.
Growing up, I'd always say Legolas.
Huh.
But the more
He's
interviews I hear of Orlando Bloom, the less I like him.
Oh, really? Oh, no.
Yeah, he just comes across as a pretentious. I don't want to say too much bad because he doesn't seem like a
He's
horrible
had an
person.
easy life. Let's say that.
He just you know what his routine's like, and get up
Despite his
and
spinal
drink
surgery.
lemongrass water and this kind of bullshit.
That does sound very Legolas.
And
though.
do 2 hours of yoga. You know, he's one of these people has enough time for that shit.
I mean, that sounds like Legolas, though. So
It does. Doesn't
I've
it? 'Cause he-
completely derailed the quiz now with this stupid question.
Who's your favourite character, Alex?
Yeah, let's go. Yes, you do yours first.
I'm going to go Boromir. For sure, Boromir. He's
only
by
in
far
one
the
film.
most interesting character. This flawed
Okay.
person. Flawed man.
Yeah.
He's trying to live up to, the hero of Aragorn, and he's trying his best, bless him.
Okay.
He's an interesting character, isn't he? He really is. I think I've got to go for Gandalf.
Well, when I read the books, I think it was a long time ago now, but Faramir, I think, was my actual favourite because
He came to mind.
because Boromir is corrupted by the ring, and Faramir has the strength to resist it and be a decent fella, and he gets Eowyn, which score. But I think Sam is probably the best character.
Sam.
Yeah.
Samwise.
His simple
Gamgee.
courage stands out. Well, I like Frodo too, but Frodo's a bit, Frodo's the master, whereas Sam has to actually struggle the whole journey, carrying all the food and the equipment and everything.
I can't carry the ring for you, but I can carry you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and stuff like, and his endless hope. That's
Sam is good.
That's important.
True.
Anyway,
Sam is good.
I'm very sorry for derailing the quiz like this.
Yeah,
So that is 3-all. Question 7.
it is.
What are baby rabbits called?
Oh,
This is a meeting called by 2 councillors. Illegally.
Yes,
Are they
Alex.
kittens?
They are kittens.
Yeah, I think we've.
4-3.
I had this quiz.
think
I
I
had
might
this
have
question on the
heard that
quiz
before.
before. Yeah.
Oh, really? Oh, apologies.
That's all right because I was second guessing myself.
I didn't remember it. I don't think I'm pretty sure I haven't said it before, that one. So
No, I think it's
No,
a question
yeah,
I
I mean-
might have done actually.
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't know. It's just one of those weird facts I just had stored away somewhere, I guess.
Nice. Yeah, kittens. I didn't
Alex
know
is
that.
under investigation for trafficking underage bunny rabbits.
God. Oh,
got
dear.
Underage
Shouldn't joke
conies.
about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can't joke about it. Can't joke about it.
We can, but we're terrible people. Question number 8. What is the best-selling VHS of all time?
No, really?
VHS.
Oh my wow.
That's my question. I wanted to have the answer's the same as for all home video and like DVDs, etc. But I just thought the VHS bit was the best, so I just decided to narrow it down to VHS. Because it's the same
Did
answer.
you say
Okay.
it's the same for
Same
DVDs? Because that's
That's a clue. That's a clue. There, it's the same for DVD. As in, like, if you add them all together
So,
with the
are you
VHS,
including Blu-ray in
included.
that?
If you add the whole of home theatre together, it's the same for VHS as it is for the total number.
I'm escaping to the one place that hasn't been corrupted by capitalism.
Is it The Wizard of Oz?
It's not the Wizard of Oz.
a great guess.
Good guess.
though.
Good guess. Yeah.
A meeting called by 2 councillors.
What about Snow White?
Another good guess, but it's not.
No.
Okay.
I have to say though, just a bit of a clue. You're along the right lines there, Alex. It's something that has that lasting appeal, and of course something that that's often reissued in different guises. You know.
Okay.
So you probably know which company I'm referring to.
Yeah, I'm trying to think which.
So it's a
If it's
a
not
Disney
Snow
one.
White, which one is it?
Space!
Bambi?
Not Bambi.
Damn. Can be at all.
This is a meeting called by 2 councillors.
The Lion King.
It is The Lion King. Yes. The Lion King, 32 million copies on VHS sold,
I can
It's
believe
very
that. We had a
popular.
copy of that. Yeah.
and they always keep on giving out these special editions, don't they? Not producing
Yeah.
this anniversary edition and that anniversary edition. Yeah. Yep. The Lion King. There we go.
Wow.
So that is now
5.
5-3. 5-3 was pulled ahead.
Can't-
Only 2 questions left.
I've got to get both of these
Robin?
right just to have a chance.
God.
I
Oh my
don't
God.
think it's.
You've got to get them
Don't
right.
think it's happening.
I'll be joined first if I go. If I
Oh.
win, so no. I'm not even going to think about it. It's not going to happen. Not going to happen.
There's,
It is
there's a
gonna,
lot.
it's
of,
totally going to
there's a
happen
lot
now.
at
There's
stake.
no
You've got
way
to
I
get
can
one.
do this. I'm not.
You've
I'm
got to
not
get
like
one of the
Martin.
next 3 questions right.
I'm not a comeback
It's
king.
the rest of my life.
Question 9.
Okay.
Every 4 years, the English, Irish, Welsh, and Scottish rugby teams come together to make a super team which tours one of either South Africa,
Space!
Australia, or New Zealand.
Can't believe you've done this, Martin.
They are called the Lions, but which country are they playing this year?
Shit.
Robin, you did buzz. You
I did
buzzed.
buzz, and now I've got to answer because I was greedily, selfishly, and thoughtlessly thinking the question was going to be, what are they called? But no. Which country are they playing in?
Yes.
Or just the country
Which
they're
co-
playing?
Who are they playing against? Who's the tour series against?
I have no idea.
3 options.
New Zealand.
So what was that?
New Zealand?
It's not New Zealand. Alex, your guess?
No, don't.
Don't.
I don't even know what the 3 options are, so I'm just going to guess. South Africa.
It's South Africa.
I knew it would be. I just knew it would be. I knew it. I
South
knew
Africa.
it.
Yep, they're playing in. Well, they're supposedly playing in South Africa.
Oh my gosh.
In this summertime. It was meant to be kind of called off. They were thinking of calling it off and then playing it in the UK, but apparently it's still going ahead. I
Well,
imagine there won't be many travelling fans, but we'll see.
I just want to say I am thrilled. I am just incredibly happy.
Your rugby knowledge came to the fore, so very
The only
good.
thing that annoys me about this is that that's at least the 3rd question this quiz that Alex has got right, not knowing the answer when he buzzed. And I knew the answer, and I changed my answer because I second guessed myself. And I don't mind losing, but I do mind losing when I was right.
I'm really sorry, Robin.
No, don't be. Don't be.
I
You're
feel
the
like
quiz
I've
king.
robbed
You're the
you
quiz
now.
king. You deserve it.
I'm sorry,
And
Robin.
I deserve to lose for making those silly errors.
Right, 6-3. Question number 10. Who was the first ever US vice president?
I'm escaping to the one place that hasn't.
illegally.
I heard Robin
Oh, great.
first.
John Adams.
It was John Adams.
Did you know that, Alex?
Well done.
That I was going to guess John Adams, just because
Okay.
he was the second. He was the second president, wasn't he?
Yeah.
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 Did you say it was like the most the most useless and pointless position in the whole of US politics or something to
Yeah.
to that extent, didn't he?
It wasn't wrong.
yeah, true. I guess how many vice presidents have then become president? That's stepping stone. It's not a bad position
So
for your career goals, is it?
Well, Adams' vice president was Jefferson, who then became president, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
At least at
Yeah,
the beginning,
crazy.
there was a handover.
Yeah.
True,
These days,
true.
that's common, I guess. Al Gore was supposed to be a shoo-in.
Of course. I mean, do you think that that Harris will become president?
I don't like to jinx it.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean,
TBC.
TBC.
Yeah.
Anything could happen to Biden, I guess. But then anything could happen to any president.
Especially this year with a digestive biscuit. That's
With the digestive
all we know.
biscuit on the way.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows?
Always a risk, that digestive biscuit.
Yeah.
Always a risk.
His first state visit to the UK, we're going to make some enemies, I think. If we poison, I'm assuming we poison him with the McVitie's.
Or he chokes on it.
I don't
Not
recall
us.
that at all.
Not
I don't-
us, like
I don't
us as a
remember.
country.
I don't. What?
Are you plotting to kill Biden with the digestive biscuit? Here?
No. I'm just saying, like, where else is he going to... He doesn't just have McVitie's digestives lying about, is he? He's going to have to get them when he comes here.
True.
He doesn't. I mean, their version of a biscuit in the US is very different to over here, isn't it? It's more like a scone or something, isn't it? Like
Oh, really?
Yeah.
some dry thing that you pour gravy
That's
over.
why they love cookies.
Maybe
I guess.
Gravy and
cookies.
biscuits
yeah.
and gravy.
That's a thing, right?
That is a
That's
thing,
an American
yeah.
thing. Yeah. Imagine a digestive with gravy. My God. That's
Well,
that's a thought not
traditionally
worth
they're
thinking
called
about.
sweet biscuits. It's just that we lost, like the American savory biscuit that you just described is something that we used to have, but we kind of lost it.
Yeah, I think for good reason though, right? It
Hence
doesn't look
sweet
great.
biscuits. What I do need to look up is why they're called digestive biscuits. Do you think they were invented? Well, do you think they're one of those Victorian remedies for bowel movement or something? You know, is that
Good
what they-
question. Digestive.
odd
Do they
name,
have
yeah.
a lot of fibre in them? I can't imagine they do.
Well, there's someone's facts sorted for next week.
Yeah. Martin and I have both got our facts sorted. Martin's going to look
Yeah.
at his thing, I'm going to look at my thing. And Alex, what's yours going to be? Sneak
Something
preview
about
of next week's.
another thing that food that I grew up on, probably. Some more cheese pasta facts. I've got hundreds of them.
Cheese pasta. just called cheese pasta. Okay. Moving on to the bonus fact. It won't change the results, but it could get a little bit of pride back, Robin. So, question number 11,
Oh, okay.
so to speak. Which month has the most births globally?
Interesting.
When are your birthdays? It's bad that I don't know this, but when are your birthdays?
Mine's in August. I'm a
Okay.
Leo.
I'm
Yeah.
escaping to the
August
one
12th.
place that hasn't been corrupted by capitalism.
I want to guess
Yes.
September.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
It's not September.
It is a meeting called by two councillors.
I'm going to guess July.
It's not July.
Is it going to be August?
Space!
Is it August?
Yeah, it's August.
I feel like your face kind of gave that away. There.
Yeah,
I'm
definitely.
sure it did. I'm sure if it was in the balance, I would have tried to keep more of a straight
Oh.
face, I imagine. Yes, August. August has the
All
most
those
births
cold
globally.
winter nights, I guess.
Exactly. I mean, it varies from country to country, as you'd expect. But August, yeah, most births. So if you're born in August, congratulations on being a commoner.
I'm a commoner.
Yeah, common as muck. Anyway, thank you, gentlemen, for partaking in this quiz.
Thank you
Alex,
for
congratulations
the
on the
quiz.
victory.
Yeah.
It was comprehensive in the end, I thought.
Thank
It was
you very
good
much.
victory.
Yeah,
And,
very well done. Yeah. And
Very
good
much
quiz.
so.
Thank
Very
you.
much so.
Can't remember the last time I beat you in a quiz, Robin. Quite frankly, it's
It wasn't the beginning of the season. Someone beat
possibly.
me. I'm sure it was
I
you.
don't know.
Yeah, you had a really good run. You won 2 or 3 in a row, didn't you?
You did have a good start, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then it faded away. So, but you're back in the running.
I think we're joined first. I'm coming for that trophy.
Oof.
Yeah, it's happening.
I need that drinking vessel.
It's a good one.
I don't have any of my own. I need one.
Next week it will make an appearance. I need to remember that as well. Write it down in the notes.
Yeah.
But thank you all.
Okay.
But thank you both for joining me. Thank you all at home for joining us as well. We have been doing, well, we did our first live podcast, didn't we, over on twitch.tv/just_interesting. So do head on over there if you want to be notified when we go live again, because you can get directly involved. You can ask your questions, you can chat away with other fans of the podcast as well, and interact with us. So please do head on over there. We're trying to build a bit of a following, so any support we can get over there would be fantastic. We've also got our Patreon episodes for a little more interesting at patreon.com/justinteresting. And other than that, I think just have a great week, everyone. Keep safe, enjoy yourself, enjoy the sun, and we'll see you next time. Cool.
Bye for now.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.